Professor Turi King was part of the team tasked with identifying the skeleton. Could it have been England's missing king?
One of the things that we were looking for as one of the potential sort of characteristics that we're looking for in a set of remains for Richard would be evidence of hunchback or spinal abnormality, as had been, in Shakespeare's play, and in that contemporary source, which had talked about him having one shoulder higher than the others. So on the 4th of September, 2012, Joe Appleby, who was our osteologist, and I are excavating. And we're starting from the legs and we are moving our way up. And we realized that through sort of various things that are happening, we're not going to be able to uncover this skeleton today. So we stop because we want to keep it as protected as possible. The next day, Jo is continuing the excavation. She has got the skull, she's got the pelvis, and now what she's trying to do is to follow the spinal column up in a straight line from the pelvis up to the skull. And she's working her way up with the vertebrae, and then she realizes she can't find one of them, and she has to kind of dig slightly sideways. And she realizes that the spinal column is curved and going off in a bit of a curve. And she said the hair on the back of her neck went up because she realized what she might be looking at. Up until this point, we had a skull. It had some what looked like injuries on it, but this could have been somebody who sort of met with a nasty end. But when you start to put all those things together, including the curvature of the spine, we started to realize this looks like this really could be him. So this is the really iconic photo of Richard III with his remains laid out. And you can see several things right away. The first of these is just how striking the scoliosis is. It's not kyphosis. This is not a hunchback as described by Shakespeare. It's a sideways curve of the spine known as scoliosis.
By comparing the bone's DNA to that of Richard's living relatives, the team confirmed that the skeleton was indeed his. But what do his remains tell us about the way he died?
Richard III had 11 injuries on him, and 9 of those were on his head. And what that is telling us is that at some point in the battle, his helmet has come off. So this is an image of the front of Richard's skull, and it's actually really good for showing just how few injuries he has on the front. And that is interesting for us because if you look at other sets of remains, so remains say from the Battle of Towton, other battles in the Wars of the Roses, what you find is they are often disfigured and they are unrecognizable. This completely fits in with what you would expect because this is a change of dynasty. So this is the end of the Plantagenet period. Henry Tudor wants to take the throne. If he's going to do that, he has to be able to show that Richard III has actually died in battle. And for that, you want him to be recognizable. Now, the killer blows for Richard are here on the base of his skull. Now, this is obviously where the spinal column goes up in there. He's got this wound, a slice injury, thought to be done with something like a sword or a halberd, a staffed weapon, probably a halberd. It has got about 6 centimeters of brain exposed. So this would have been one of the killer blows. The other one is this one. You can actually see this one. It is actually nicked on the top vertebrae, gone through 10 centimeters of bone and brain, and hit on the inside of the skull on the other side. Again, thought to be done with something like a sword or the tip of a halberd, something like that. What it's showing us is, because of the sort of the location and angle of these wounds, is that Richard must have been on all fours at this point, or prone. It's completely consistent with what we know about Richard and his final moments, in that we know that he was apparently killed in the thickest press of his enemies. He goes down in battle.
Professor King's analysis reveals disturbing details about what happened to Richard's body after his death.
The other 2 injuries that Richard has on him, there's one on his 10th rib on the right side, and there is one which shows that there must have been a sword or a dagger that has gone up through the right buttock and gone through the pelvis that way, because he has a cut on the inside of one of his pelvic bones. This is consistent with what we know about how Richard, after the battle, has been stripped naked, flung over the back of a horse before being brought back into Leicester, and there are reports of people heaping humiliations upon the body.